So, good evening, everyone. Today we will start a new chapter which has been recently included in your syllabus, CBSE 9. That is the first chapter, How I Taught My Grandmother to Read by Sudha Murthy. Sudha Murthyর এইটা স্টোরিটা তার চাইল্ডহুডের তার গ্র্যান্ডমাদারের সঙ্গে তার রিলেশনশিপ কেমন ছিল সেটাই সে আমাদের সঙ্গে শেয়ার করেছে সুধা মূর্তি and to know about Sudha Murthy and her writings, just Google it, you can find it over there. So I'm not wasting time over there. So let's start. আমরা কিছু কিছু জায়গায় পয়েন্ট আউট করে নেব, ফোকাস করে নেব। তো সেইটুকুই আমাদের ফোকাসের পয়েন্ট রাখতে হবে। হাউ আই টট my grandmother to read. Okay. And who is the author? Sudha Murthy. So in this story, from her childhood, she shared her experience with her grandmother and how she helped her grandmother to become a literate one. So let's start with the chapter. When I was a young girl of 12, so at that time when Sudha Murthy is talking in this story, she was about 12 years old. Okay. So when I was a girl of about 12, I used to stay in the village in North Karnataka. So underline that part. Lived her childhood in North Karnataka. Okay. So I used to stay in a village in North Karnataka with my grandparents. Those days, the transport system was not very good. আজকের মতো উবের, ওলা, তারপর কি বলে র্যাপিডো এগুলো ছিল না। ডোর স্টেপে এসে ডেলিভারি বয় ছিল না। আমরা একটু আগের সোসাইটিটা কেমন ছিল সেই পিকচারটাও আমরা এখানে পাবো। So in those days, the transport system was not very good. So we used to get the morning paper only in the afternoon. So the morning paper, আমরা তো habituated morning paper, আমরা এখন সেটাও নিউজ পেপারটাও আস্তে আস্তে অবসলিট হতে চলেছে। তো নিউজ পেপারটা এসে পৌঁছতো ইন দ্য ইভিনিং। Newspaper reached in the evening. The transport system was so advanced. So যারা যারা তোরা উড়িষ্যায় গেছিস, পুরীতে গেছিস, তোরা দেখবি ওখানে নিউজ পেপার ইভিনিং এর দিকে তোরা পাবি। হ্যাঁ, তোরা মর্নিং এ পাবি না, এখানকার বাংলা নিউজ পেপার যেটা। তো ট্রেনে যাবে, তারপর সেখান থেকে পাওয়া যায়। So in those days, the transport system was not very good. So we used to get the morning paper only in the afternoon. The weekly magazine used to come one day late. যেদিন ম্যাগাজিনটা পাবলিশ হতো, উইকলি ম্যাগাজিনটা আসতো magazine reached one day later. একদিন পর এসে পৌঁছতো উইকলি ম্যাগাজিনগুলো। All of us would wait eagerly for the bus which used to come with papers, weekly magazines and the post. Post means the letters. postal orders, anything like that. So একটা বাস আসতো, সেই বাসটার জন্য ওরা eagerly wait করতো to get the newspapers, magazines and letters. So that is the narrator's childhood experience in that village in northern Karnataka, north part of Karnataka, in a village. At that time, Triveni was a very popular writer in the Kannada language. So this is vital. Now, Sudhamurthy is talking about Triveni, a famous, or you can say popular, Kannada writer. At that time, Triveni was a very popular Kannada writer, and she was a wonderful writer. Her style was so easy to read and very convincing. Her stories usually dealt with complex psychological problems in the lives of ordinary people and were always very interesting, right? So this happens to us also. আমরাও যখন কোনো অর্ডিনারি লাইফের তার সাফারিং, তার পেন সেটা আমরা দেখি, আমরাও সেটা ফিল করি, আমরাও আমাদের লাইফের সঙ্গে রিলেট করার চেষ্টা করি। অনেক মুভি দেখে দেখবি, অনেক সিরিয়াল দেখে দেখবি, তোর বাড়ির যারা গ্র্যান্ড প্যারেন্টস আছে, দে আর ক্রাইং। ওয়াই? For that particular reason, there is a purgation of emotion, pity and fear. ভেতর থেকে একটা ইমোশন আসে, purgation of emotion, pity and fear, যে আমিও ওই সিচুয়েশনে পড়তে পারি, আমিও ওই সিচুয়েশনটার সঙ্গে নিজেকে রিলেট করতে পারি। তো অ্যাকচুয়ালি তাহলে স্টাইলটা কি ছিল এটা মাথায় রাখতে হবে। না, ত্রিবেণীর স্টাইল কি ছিল? ত্রিবেণী, why she became so popular? Easy style, number one. Number two, very convincing. পড়েই মনে হবে একদম সত্যি ঘটনা, হ্যাঁ, as if real. And number three, she dealt with complex psychological problems of ordinary people belong to lower or middle class. এরকম অনেক সিরিয়ালও হয়, দেখে দেখবি যে কোন একটা মুভি দেখছিস, দেখতে দেখতে ইউ নো ওয়েন ইউ ফিল ইউ স্টার্টেড ক্রাইং, চোখে টিয়ার্স ইউ ক্যান ফিল, right? Unfortunately for Kannada literature, she died very young. আমাদের বাংলা লিটারেচারেও একজন এরকম কবি ছিল, খুব অল্প বয়সে মারা গিয়েছিল। Can you name? Just mention in the comment box if you know the name. একজন বাঙালি পোয়েট, বাঙালি কবি যিনি খুব অল্প বয়সে মারা যান। So she died very young. Even now, after 40 years, so she died 40 years ago. Even now, after 40 years, people continue to appreciate her novels. She was so famous, so popular in Karnataka that even after her death, 40 years had passed, but people still continued to appreciate her novels, used to read her novels. One of her novels called Kashi Yatri. So first part আমরা যদি একটু পয়েন্ট আউট করি, তো ফার্স্ট আমরা ফোকাস রাখবো যে পয়েন্টের উপরে, সেই পয়েন্টটা একটু লিখে নাও। First point, the narrator experience in the village with his grandparents. This is the first point. Okay. Now, let me clear this part. Otherwise, second part, we have already started. Triveni and her novel Kashi Yatri. This is the second point. So let's start. One of her novels called Kashi Yatri was appearing as a serial. So episode wise ota publish hoto in the Kannada weekly magazine named Karmavira. So what was the name of the magazine? Kashi Yatri J weekly magazine beroto publish hoto sheta hocche Karmavira. You have to remember this. It is the story of an old lady and her ardent desire, her intense desire to go to Kashi or Varanasi nowadays. So, this is actually the story of an old lady, this Kashi Yatri. It is based on a story of a life of an old lady. Her ardent desire was to visit Kashi or Varanasi at least once in her lifetime. Most Hindus believe that going to Kashi and worshipping Lord Vishweshwara is the ultimate punya. So, what is ultimate punya? To get satisfaction, to get purity. So, what you have done in your life, throughout your life, সমস্ত sin, সমস্ত পাপ ধুয়ে যাবে and you will achieve the absolute punya if you visit Kashi at least once in your lifetime. It was believed. So আর ওখানে গিয়ে কাকে পুজো করতে হবে সেটা মনে রাখতে হবে লর্ড বিশ্বশ্বরাকে. So once again, can we read it once again? Most Hindus believe that going to Kashi and worshipping Lord Vishweshwara is the ultimate punya. This old lady also believed in this. This old lady means the protagonist of the story Kashi Yatri. This old lady also believed in this, and her struggle to go there was described in that novel. How she managed bit by bit, because she needed at least some rupees to complete the tour, right? So her struggle to save the money, to go there, to go to Kashi, and this part is elaborately described in that novel Kashi Yatri, written by Triveni, that popular writer who died 40 years ago. Right. So her struggle to go there was described in that novel. In the story, there was also a young orphan girl. So this story, this Kashi Yatri, there is also a young girl, an orphan young girl who falls in love, but there was no money for wedding. So crisis ta toiri korechilo. There was a crisis. একদিকে ক্রাইসিসটা কোথায়, সেই ওল্ড লেডির স্যাক্রিফাইস, স্ট্রাগল টু সেভ মানি যাতে ও ভিজিট করতে পারে বারাণসীতে। অন্যদিকে আরেকটা ক্রাইসিস কি ক্রিয়েট করেছিল সাইমালটেনিয়াসলি, দ্য ক্রাইসিস অফ দ্যাট অরফ্যান ইয়াং লেডি who falls in love with a boy but couldn't marry because they had no money. In the end, the old lady gives away all her savings without going to Kashi. So this is the end, how the story ends, that the old lady sacrificing her desire, her intense desire to visit Varanasi. Instead visiting Varanasi, what she did, she gave all her savings to that young lady. She says, the happiness of this orphan girl is more important than worshipping Lord Visheshwara at Kashi. So it is also similar to achieve punya by helping a young orphan girl to get married, isn't it? So that is the story. We have already written over there the second part, Triveni and her novel Kashi Yatri. You know what is the story of Kashi Yatri, right? Isn't it? If you have any doubt, pause it, go back to that part and watch again. Now, my grandmother, now you get the name. What was the name of the grandmother? This grandmother's name was Krishtaka. Krishtaka. My grandmother, now Sudhamurti is talking about her grandmother, okay? গুলিয়ে ফেলিস না এখানে। My grandmother Krishtaka never went to school, so she could not read. So third part আমরা আসবো, my grandmother Krishtaka never went to school, so she couldn't read. Every Wednesday the magazine would come. So remember, magazine একদিন পরে আসতো। তাহলে যদি কোয়েশ্চেন আসে ম্যাগাজিনটা পাবলিশ হতো কবে? It was published on Tuesday, right? After one day, it reached in that village. That is Wednesday. So every Wednesday, the magazine would come and I would read the next episode of this story to her. So, ওই কর্মবীরা বলে যে ম্যাগাজিনটা ছিল, সেই ম্যাগাজিনটায় সিরিজ ওয়াইজ এই স্টোরিটাই আসছিল, এই নভেলটাই আসছিল, এই স্ট্রাগলটাই আসছিল, এই দুজনের ক্রাইসিস পিরিয়ডটাকেই এমফাসাইজ করে নভেলটা চলেছিল। নভেলটা খুব শর্টে বলা আছে। So as my grandmother never went to school, so I used to read the next episode of this story to her. During that time, she would forget all her work. Now, she was so ardent, so eager to listen, to know what happened to that old lady or that young orphan girl. She was so curious that she would forget all her work and listen with the greatest concentration. Later, she could repeat the entire text by heart. Now, when you concentration levelটা তার এতই ভালো ছিল যে after hearing it from her granddaughter, she could repeat the entire text by heart. সঙ্গে সঙ্গে entire টেক্সটটা ও বলে দিতে পারতো what happened after that. The grandmother too never went to Kashi. So there is a similarity between the old lady in Kashi Yatri and Sudhamurti's grandmother. They never went, she never went to Kashi, and she identified herself with the novel's protagonist. So more than anybody else, she was the one. She is the one of the most interested in knowing what happened next in the story. So she could relate herself with the struggle, with the pain, with the sacrifices of the protagonist of the novel Kashi Yatri. So she was very keen to know what happened next in the story and used to insist that I read the serial out to her immediately when the magazine Karmavira reached in that village. After hearing what had happened next in Kashi Yatri, when she finished reading Sudhamurti, so she would join her friends. The grandmother would join her friends at the temple courtyard where we children would also gather to play hide and seek. So that is again grandmother's relationship, the bonding between granddaughter and grandmother. After hearing what happened next to Kashi Yatri, she would join her friends at the temple courtyard. কোর্টইয়ার্ডে বসে এবার কি করতো, এবার গ্র্যান্ডমাদার বাদবাকি ফ্রেন্ডসদের, ওর সেম এজের ফ্রেন্ডসদের গল্পটা শোনাতো, while we the children would also gather there to play hide and seek. That part is clear? So third point, the narrator reading the novel to grandmother. That is your third point. Okay. Once she would discuss the latest episode, she would discuss the latest episode with her friends. At that time, I never understood why there was so much of debate about the story. So different people had different opinion about that happenings, about the serial, about that episode. So they gave their own opinion, they shared their own opinion, and as a little child of 12 years old, Sudhamurti couldn't understand why there was so much debate about the story. Right? Once I went, this is another part, this is fourth phase of the story. You must highlight, this is the fourth phase of the story we are starting. Once I went for a wedding with my cousins to the neighboring village. So Sudhamurti with her cousins went to attend a wedding ceremony to the neighboring village. In those days, a wedding was a great event. It is also nowadays also, isn't it? Wedding at a great ceremony, সবার কাছেই তো great event. We children enjoyed ourselves thoroughly. We would eat and play endlessly. Savoring means enjoying to the utmost enjoying. Savoring the freedom, because savoring freedom means enjoying the freedom, because the elders তারা বিজি থাকবে না ডিফারেন্ট কাজে, ওয়েডিং এর সেরিমনিটা প্রপারলি যাতে কমপ্লিট হয়, তো দ্য এল্ডার্স মাইট বি বিজি উইথ দেয়ার ওয়ার্কস and the children used to enjoy their freedom to its utmost. So we would eat and play endlessly, savoring the freedom, because all the elders were busy. They might be busy in some work, organizing the event properly. To organize the event properly, I went for a couple of days, mane actually for 2 days. but ended up staying there for a week. But she stayed there for 7 days. Initially, she went there for a couple of days, but ended up staying there for a week. So, this part you can write the narrator's absence. We will continue this. When I came back to my village, I saw my grandmother in tears. So that is the thing. When I came back, আমি যখন ফিরে এলাম to the village, I saw my grandmother, আমি আমার grandmaকে দেখলাম in tears. She was crying. I was surprised, for I had never seen her cry even in the most difficult situations. I had never seen her crying even in the face of most difficult situations. But when she returned from that wedding ceremony, she found her grandmother crying. Probably she had been watching her grandmother crying for the first time in her life. She was startled. She was surprised. What had happened? I was worried. Avva, is everything all right? Are you okay? Avva means mother. Kannada language Avva hocche mother. Avva, is everything all right? Are you okay? I used to call her Avva, which means mother in the Kannada spoken in North Karnataka. এক একটা এরিয়ার এক একটা ডায়ালেক্ট ডিফারেন্ট হয়, তোরা জানিস। তোরা যখন বিষ্ণুপুর বাঁকুড়ার দিকে যাবি তখন দেখবি ডায়ালেক্ট একটু ডিফারেন্ট হচ্ছে। তোরা আবার একটু হিলি রিজিয়নে দার্জিলিংয়ে যাবি, ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলের মধ্যেই চিন্তা কর, একটু দার্জিলিংয়ের দিকে জায়গায় যাবি তখন দেখবি ওদের আবার অ্যাকসেন্টটা ডিফারেন্ট হচ্ছে। সো নর্দার্ন কর্ণাটকায় আভা হচ্ছে মাদার। I used to call her Avva, which means mother, in the Kannada spoken in North Karnataka. She nodded, but did not reply. She nodded negatively, but did not reply. I didn't understand and forgot about it. In the night, after dinner, we were sleeping in the open terrace of our house. I don't know how many of you have got this experience, but I have got. ছাদে ঘুমানোর এক্সপিরিয়েন্স কার কার আছে? আছে কারোর? So it was a summer night and we were sleeping in the open terrace of our house. It was a summer night and there was a full moon. পূর্ণিমার রাত ছিল, full moon. Avva came and sat next to me. So this is narrator's absence, and you can write grandmother's reaction. How did grandmother react when Sudha Murthy stayed for 7 days instead of 2 in that wedding ceremony in the neighboring village? She nodded but didn't reply. I didn't understand and forgot about it. In the night after dinner, we were sleeping in the open terrace of our house. It was a summer night and there was a full moon. Avva came and sat next to me. Her affectionate hands, loving hands. You can understand if you have got your grandparents or grandmother, their touch. You can understand what I'm trying to say. Her affectionate hands touched my forehead. I realized she wanted to speak. I immediately realized she wanted to tell me something. I asked her, "What is the matter?" Now, this is When I was a young girl, I lost my mother. There was nobody to look after and guide me. Grandmother started talking. Grandmother started telling her stories. Grandmother started telling her granddaughter about her own life. Married life. Now, this is very important. When I was a young girl, I lost my mother. There was nobody to look after and guide me. My father was a busy man and got married again. So you can understand the situation of the child. In those days, people never considered education essential for girls. So I never went to school. So that is the reason, because in those days, people didn't consider that education is essential for girls also. So I never went to school. I got married very young and had children. I became very busy. As she had got many children, she became very busy. Later, I had grandchildren and always felt so much happiness in cooking and feeding all of you. At times, I used to regret not going to school. কিন্তু মাঝে মাঝে তার মনের মধ্যে একটা রিগ্রেট থাকে, একটা অনুশোচনা থাকে, রাইট? রিগ্রেট থাকে যে not going to school. So I made sure that my children and grandchildren studied well. So এই রিগ্রেটটা থেকে she was determined so that her children and grandchildren must be educated, should be educated, should go to school. So that is the thing. Married life কিভাবে লিড করেছিল, this part, right? So next, part 2. Part 2 is a much complex one, but এখানে আমরা এই টপিক ওয়াইজই দেখবো। তো ফার্স্ট পার্টে আমরা পাঁচটা টপিক নিয়েছি, পাঁচটা টপিকের ওপরেই আমাদের ফার্স্ট পার্টটা কমপ্লিট হচ্ছে। নাও দ্য সেকেন্ড পার্ট। I could not understand why my 62-year-old grandmother, now you have come to know the age also, right? Grandmother name হচ্ছে Krishtaka, age 62. I could not understand why my 62-year-old grandmother was telling me, a 12-year-old, the story of her life in the middle of the night. But I knew I loved her immensely, and there had to be some reason why she was talking to me. I looked at her face. So it's not very easy to grab the meaning of the elders at the age of 12, to understand, to comprehend the psychology of an aged person at the age of 12, as Sudhamurti was 12 at the time. But I only knew that I loved her immensely. I looked at her face, it was unhappy, and her eyes were filled with tears. She was a good-looking lady who was usually always smiling. Grandmothers are always sweet-looking, and they can be found smiling every time. Even today, I cannot forget the worried expression on her face. Even today, I cannot forget the worried expression on her face. I leaned forward and held her hand. Ava, don't cry. What is the matter? Can I help you in any way? আমি তোমাকে কোনোভাবে হেল্প করতে পারি? হোয়াট ইজ বদারিং ইউ? Yes, I need your help. So she is so casual to her granddaughter, মানে এতটা আর্ডেন্ট, এতটা একটা বন্ডিংটা এতটা ক্লোজ ছিল। ইয়েস, আই নিড ইউর হেল্প। when you were away, Karmavira came as usual. তুমি যখন ছিলে না, you were there busy in attending the wedding ceremony in the neighboring village. The Karmavira came as usual. সেই ওয়েডনেসডে তে Karmavira এসেছিল। Karmavira, that journal, that magazine, reached my house. I opened the magazine. Now, the intensity you can feel. I opened the magazine. I saw the picture that accompanies the story. স্টোরির সঙ্গে সঙ্গে অনেক পিকচারও থাকে না, এরকম দেখবে পিকচার রয়েছে এরকম, সামথিং লাইক দিস, ইফ ইউ ক্যান সি, রাইট? তো I saw the picture that accompanies the story of Kashi Yatri, and I could not understand anything that was written because she was not educated. কেউ illiterate লিখবে না কিন্তু, হ্যাঁ, this is an harsh word, uneducated লিখবে, she was not educated লিখবে। So I opened the magazine, I saw the picture that accompanies the story of Kashi Yatri, and I could not understand anything that was written. Many times I rubbed my hands over the pages, wishing they could understand what was written. I was rubbing my hand over the pages, thinking that it would help her to understand, to grab the meaning, what was written over there, but I knew it was not possible. If only I was educated enough, I waited eagerly for you to return. So, এটা possible হতো তখনই যদি I was educated enough. As I was not, so I was waiting eagerly for you to return. And you were supposed to return after 2 days. But actually you returned after 7 days. So I waited eagerly for you to return. I felt you would come early and read for me because you were supposed to come after 2 days. I even thought of going to the village and asking you to read for me. একবার ভেবেও ছিলাম যে ওই ভিলেজে চলে যাব, গিয়ে তোমায় বলবো, তোকে বলবো যে এই কি ম্যাগাজিনে এই স্টোরিটা আমাকে একটু পড়ে বলে দে। To the village and asking you to read for me. I could have asked somebody in this village also. এই ভিলেজেরও কাউকে আমি বলতে পারতাম, but I was too embarrassed to do so. একটা shyness কাজ করেছিল. She was shy enough to ask another people in the village to ask for her, to read for her. I felt very dependent at that time. যে ফিলিংটা এসেছিল, underline it. Sorry, I felt very dependent and helpless. Underline it, this is very important. Without education, at the age of 62, an old lady feeling very dependent and helpless. We are well off. So there is no monetary issue in our family. But what use is money when I cannot be independent? So what is the actual meaning of independence? Money, treasury, jewelry? No, education. So what is the use of money when I cannot be independent? আমাকে যখন অন্যের উপর ডিপেন্ডেন্ট হয়ে থাকতে হবে, তাহলে মানির কি প্রয়োজন আছে? There is no use of money. I did not know what to answer, Sudhamurthy is saying. I did not know what to answer. Abha continued. I have decided I want to learn the Kannada alphabet. So, 6th point. grandmother's willingness to read the novel. You remember she was rubbing over the pages to comprehend the meaning, right? So that is the part. Now I have decided next part. Grandmother's determination to be literate. Now she wanted to start her education. I have decided I want to learn the Kannada alphabet from tomorrow onwards. I will work very hard. I will keep Saraswati Puja day during Dasera as the deadline. Underline it. So deadline ও রেখেছে কোথায় যে এই টাইমের মধ্যে she was so determined. This lady was so dedicated and determined, isn't it? Deadline রেখে দিয়েছে যে Saraswati Puja during the Dasera as the deadline. That day I should be able to read a novel on my own. সেই দিনকে আমি I will be able to read a novel on my own. I want to be independent. So there is an urge you can feel in the grandmother's determination. There is an urge for education, to be literate. I saw the determination on her face, yet I laughed at her. Ava, at the age of 62, you want to learn the alphabet. এখন তুমি ABCD শিখবে, something like that. আমরাও এরম ভাবে মজা করতাম তাহলে. All your hair is grey, all your hands are wrinkled, you wear spectacles and you work so much in the kitchen. When you will get time, and how will your physical condition will work for this? All your hair is grey, your hands are wrinkled, so you wear spectacles and you work so much in the kitchen. Childishly, I made fun of the old lady, but she just smiled because she knew what she was going to do. For a good cause, if you are determined, you can overcome any obstacle. Underline it, and if I will advise you to write it down in a page and stick it on your study table. For a good cause, if you are determined, you can overcome any obstacle. If you are determined, you can overcome any obstacle. I will work harder than anybody, but I will do it. For learning, there is no age bar. This is true. For learning, there is no age bar. There is not a matter of embarrassment. কখনো এটা লজ্জার কোনো কারণ হতে পারে না. Anybody can start learning. The next day onwards, I started my tuition. Ava was a wonderful student. So এর পরেরটা হচ্ছে narrator's tuition class. Narrator's tuition class, right? So the next day onwards, I started my tuition. Ava was a wonderful student. The amount of homework she did was amazing. She would read, repeat, write, and recite. I was her only teacher and she was my first student. Little did I know then that one day I would become a teacher in computer science and teach hundreds of students. At the age of 12, she never thought that one day she would become a teacher of computer science and would teach hundreds of students. So Ava was her first student. right? So this is the narrator's tuition class. And এখানে তোকে মনে রাখতে হবে তোমাদেরকে she would read, repeat, write and recite. These are the processes. The Dasera festival came as usual. Secretly, I bought Kashi Yatri, the whole novel. Kashi Yatri, which had been published as a novel by that time. প্রথমে জার্নালে বেরোতো episode wise, and at last ওটা একটা novelও বেরিয়েছিল. So I bought that novel Kashi Yatri, which had been published as a novel by that time. My grandmother called me to the puja place and made me sit down on a stool. একটা টুলের ওপরে, ছোট টুলের ওপরে নিচু, তার ওপরে আমাকে বসালো. She gave me a gift of frock material. So এখানে গিফটটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট. পূজা প্লেস. সো টিউশন ক্লাসের সঙ্গে সঙ্গে এখানে আরেকটা পয়েন্ট তোরা লিখে নিতে পারিস. গ্র্যান্ডমাদার treats the narrator as a teacher. Okay? So she gave me a gift of frock material. Then she did something unusual. That is important. Underline it. She bent down and touched my feet. I was surprised and taken aback. Taken aback means also surprised, because something unexpected had happened. I was surprised and taken aback. Elders never touch the feet of youngsters. You must have also heard so. আমরা কখনো করি কি, কোনো এল্ডার্স এসে কোনো ইয়াং কারুর পায়ে হাত দিয়ে প্রণাম করে? নো, বাট গ্র্যান্ডমাদার ডিড সো. We have always touched the feet of God, elders and teachers. We consider that as a mark of respect. It is a great tradition that today the reverse had happened. It is a great tradition. But today, what is a great tradition? Respecting your parents, your elders, gods and teachers by touching their feet. Pranam korata. This is the tradition. But today, the reverse had happened. The opposite had happened. It was not correct. She said, I am touching the feet of a teacher. So, grandmother treats the narrator as a teacher. I am touching the feet of a teacher, not my granddaughter. A teacher who taught me so well, আমাকে এতটাই ভালোভাবে পড়িয়েছে, so well, with so much affection, so much love, that I can read any novel confidently, independently, in such a short period. Now I am independent. Underline it. Now I am independent. It is my duty to respect a teacher. Is it not written in our scriptures? আমাদের স্ক্রিপচার্সে পুঁথিতে কি লেখা নেই that a teacher should be respected always, irrespective of the gender and age? So a teacher should always be respected, right? This is the tradition we are following. So I did return her namaskara to her by touching. I did return her namaskar to her by touching her feet and gave my gift to my first student. So that is the last point. Narrator's gift to the grandmother. That is the last point. What was it? কি ছিল সেটা? ন্যারেটরের গিফটটা, gave my gift to my first student. That is the novel of Kashi Yatri. She opened it and read immediately the title Kashi Yatri by Triveni and the publisher's name also. I knew then that my student had passed with flying colors. So she had become independent. She would be able to read on her own now. So that is the thing. ফার্স্ট আমাদের পাঁচটা ফার্স্ট পার্টের এই পাঁচটা পয়েন্ট, আর সেকেন্ড পার্টটার জন্য 1 2 3 4 5 আরো পাঁচটা পয়েন্টের উপর ফোকাস করলে we will be able to get the whole meaning of the story properly. But still, I'm telling you, if you have any doubt, drop your question in the comment box. I will definitely try to answer all the questions. Okay, thank you.